Time does not age you the way you think. Your habits do. You blame the years. But the years are only doing what years were always meant to do. The real acceleration comes from repetition, from what you do daily while calling it normal. Broken sleep, liquid sugar, chronic agitation, stillness mistaken for rest, a body under-repaired, a nervous system kept under low fire. That is where the speed comes from. Not birthdays, not the calendar, from the private rituals that wear you down faster than time ever could. You cannot stop the hourglass, but you can stop shaking it. Most people never do. They keep repeating small forms of neglect until tomorrow becomes weaker. Then they look in the mirror and call it aging. But often what they are seeing is not time alone. It is damage rehearsed long enough to become visible. Look closely at how decline really begins. Not with a crash, with a leak. You wake up exhausted and call it adulthood. Your skin looks dull and you call it stress. Your posture caves inward and you call it a long week. Your focus thins. Your patience shortens. Your breathing gets smaller. Your face starts carrying the weather of your mind. And because none of it arrives dramatically, you normalize it. That is the trap. Slow damage rarely announces itself. It enters quietly. A little less energy, a little more stiffness, a little more brain fog, a little less recovery, a little more dependence on caffeine, sugar scrolling noise. You are not just busy, you are under-repaired. That is why the damage feels invisible until one day it doesn't. The bill for self-neglect never arrives the day you spend it. It comes later. As inflammation, as brittle patience, as shallow sleep, as a face that looks more tired than the calendar can explain. And the cruel part is this: most people do not realize they have been aging themselves in advance. Not through tragedy, through tolerance, through calling dysfunction a lifestyle. Aging in practice is brutally simple. It is the balance between wear and repair. Wear is inevitable. Work, deadlines, noise, stress, disappointment. Time itself. That part is life. No one escapes wear. But repair is where choice begins. Sleep is repair. Movement is repair. Water is repair. Real food is repair. Sunlight is repair. Calm is repair. Deep breathing is repair. Connection is repair. Recovery is not indulgence. It is biology. And when wear stays higher than repair for long enough, you do not just age. You accelerate. That is why bad sleep matters. That is why sugar matters. That is why chronic stress matters. That is why a sedentary life matters. Because they create a body that is always paying debt and never fully recovering. A body in debt can survive for years. But survival is not vitality. Eventually, the unpaid costs begin to show. In the skin, in the hormones, in the eyes, in the posture, in the breath, in the speed at which the mind loses sharpness. This is not punishment. It is arithmetic. Wear without repair always produces decline. Stoicism is not anti-body. It is pro-capability. Marcus Aurelius understood that a sovereign mind still requires a usable instrument. You cannot speak about self-mastery while treating the machine you live in like it exists to absorb neglect. If the body is wrecked, discipline gets thin. Clarity gets slow. Patience gets expensive. Courage becomes harder to access. Everything noble starts costing more. That is the part many people miss. Neglect is not merely physical. It is philosophical. Because once the instrument degrades, your range of action narrows with it. Your focus narrows. Your resilience narrows. Your emotional control narrows. So the question is not, how do I look younger? That is shallow. The heavier question is, am I living in a way that respects the instrument through which I must live? That is the Stoic frame. Not vanity. Stewardship, not image. Function, not insecurity. Responsibility. A person with inner weight does not worship the body, but they do maintain it. Because without maintenance, freedom gets smaller. Look at the suspects. Broken sleep is not a badge of honor. It is a maintenance failure. Sleep is not leftover time. It is the body's repair shift. Miss it often enough, and everything starts paying. Mood, hormones, recovery, memory, skin, impulse control, then liquid sugar. People treat it like a harmless pleasure, but it is cheap fuel for a premium structure. Quick spike, quick crash, more cravings, less stability, more inflammation. Then, chronic stress. People wear it like proof of relevance. But stress is not status. Stress is friction, and friction repeated becomes wear. A tight jaw, raised shoulders, fast thoughts, poor sleep, shallow breath, a face that looks like it forgot how to rest. Then stillness. Too many chairs, too many screens, too little circulation. The body was designed for motion. Ignore that law and it starts forgetting itself. Muscle fades, posture folds, breath shortens, energy drops, mobility tightens. And the deepest trap of all is normalization. Self-disrespect repeated long enough begins to feel ordinary. That is why aging fast is rarely one event. It is 1,000 tolerated habits quietly agreeing to make tomorrow weaker. Stoicism asks one cold question. What have you been calling normal that is actually damage? That question matters. Because once dysfunction is named honestly, it becomes harder to keep defending it. Picture a heavy hourglass resting on a stone table under amber light. The sand is already moving. That is life. That part is not negotiable. Time passes. Cells change. Seasons move. But then imagine a hand that keeps lifting the hourglass and shaking it. Again. And again. And again. A little at night with broken sleep. A little in the morning with sugar and dehydration. A little all day with tension screens, stimulation, and shallow breath. The sand was always going to fall. But now it falls faster. That is what habits do. You were never meant to control the sand, only to stop shaking the glass. And that alone changes the pace of your life. Not because you become immortal, because you stop assisting your own decline. You do not need a miracle routine. You need protocols. 1. Prioritize repair. Defend your sleep window. Not perfectly, consistently. Sleep is not leisure. It is maintenance. Treat it like the repair shift, without which everything else gets more expensive. 2. Daily circulation. Move every day. Walk. Stand. Stretch. Lift something. Breathe fully. Muscle is not vanity. It is protective youth. It stabilizes posture. Metabolism. Breathing. Independence. Move before your body forgets how. 3. Lower invisible friction. Hydrate. Cut the liquid sugar. Get daylight. Protect your skin intelligently. Reduce late-night stimulation. Lower the unnecessary strain you keep feeding to the nervous system. Then, ask one question before bed. What did I do today that made me stronger? What did I do today that made me weaker? That question answered honestly will expose more truth than most trends ever will. Because vitality is built on maintenance. Quiet. Repetitive. Unglamorous. Effective. No one escapes time. That is not the tragedy. The tragedy is making time cruel before it ever had to be. Your future face is being written by your daily repeats. Your posture, your breath, your energy, your skin, your steadiness. All of it is listening to your habits. So stop asking how to stay young forever. Ask something better. What normal habit am I tolerating today that my future self will pay for tomorrow, then change it while it is still small? That is how vitality is protected. Not by defeating time, by refusing to accelerate its work. And if these words found the silence in you, we will meet again on the next road.